週一長談，我哋今日嘅來賓咧仍然係魏文信先生，我哋繼續同佢傾下我哋嘅教育問題。You talk about you would like to pay more for better teachers, for the good teachers, but isn't it that what the Teachers Association wanted, and what they said the government is stopping them from doing so?
I think we've got some rigidities in the school system, and some of them are, really the kind of the bread and butter demands of teachers associations all over the world, probably certainly in North America, and that's a system where pay is driven largely, if not entirely, by seniority. And I think we need to look at the fact that teachers themselves can be taught. We can create better teachers. I think research is increasingly showing that there are universities and programs that actually take a particular approach to helping teachers teach. And so I think we can migrate with higher pay and spending a bit more to helping teachers become better teachers, and not just paying them more because they've been there longer. And indeed, in many cases, they may be getting bored, or they may be getting worn out. Let's spend the money to make sure that the teachers become really good teachers, and that we have some way of assessing how they're doing that is not adversarial, that is constructive and helpful. And for those teachers that are getting tired or they want to move to a different career, let's make it easy for them. Let's make sure that they can migrate from teaching into maybe an early retirement or something of that sort. But to me, it is just so important that we not confuse spending more with just spending more. It's got to be spending more to achieve improved outcomes and an improved environment in which teachers themselves can help each other, can get further training, and become better. And our kids are going to reap the rewards.
So you're talking about rewarding those who are good and help those teachers who are good. Yeah. How about teachers whose performers are under par? It seems that we don't have any system that will stop them from continuing teaching.
Well, I believe that teaching, like other fields of endeavor, when you're underperforming, it's up to those who are managing to assess, to confide in them, to explain to them, to offer support, offer remedial help, offer as much as you can to get the low performers up to an acceptable standard. But if you can't get there, you have to move on. They have to be moved into a different profession.
Now, to manage the system more effectively or efficiently, the government has asked that the schools that are underpopulated, that is not fully used, should close in exchange for the upgrading of the earthquake structure, or earthquake resistant structure. That, well, financially that might make sense, but from the optics point of view, it doesn't make sense. What is to me? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. What is your take on this one?
To me, earthquake upgrading and the safety of schools and the safety of children is it's a top priority, and it should not be connected to other issues that are in dispute at the bargaining table. So to me, and going back at least 10 years, when I was in politics, we were constantly urging governments to spend more on earthquake upgrading because our schools were not properly built and designed in many cases, and Vancouver is a high-risk zone in terms of potential for a major earthquake. That should be done regardless of anything else. So I think the connection between the two is a contrivance, and it doesn't further the cause. It may be a negotiating tactic, but to me it's wrong-headed.
Mm-hmm. Budget, it's all about the money, because the government said we don't have budget to upgrade all the schools, so we have to close down some schools that is not used in its full capacity. So it's all about money. Now, when you talk about money, every year, every province, every government talk about when they present their budget. It's always presented with a pride sense of, I have created a balanced budget. And it seems that the government's job is to balance the budget or to manage financially successfully or efficiently. But Justin Trudeau win landslides because he promised a deficit.
Not to balance the budget.
Yeah. So is balanced budget an overvalued symptom, symbol, or what is the key essence of a balanced budget when it relates to government's service?
Balanced budgets, to me, are another one of those symbolic phrases that have taken on a life of their own, if you like. If you just look at government, public sector accounting, it's very difficult to really apply the same concepts as we might apply to our household budget or to a corporate business budget to government, because they're not accounting for capital and depreciation and a number of things in the same ways. And so when you say balanced budget, I think you're already starting from a shaky premise, because the numbers that you're balancing are somewhat questionable in many cases. When you get to a province like British Columbia, where we're highly resource dependent, and a lot of the government revenue base has traditionally been from natural resources, we have not done a good job historically, and Alberta is probably in the same camp in spades. We've taken natural resource revenue, often from non-renewable resources, and we've allowed it to be treated as an ongoing permanent source of revenue. Well, of course, as you know, the resource business is very cyclical, and so you might have a lot of money for education and health this year, and next year the resource market goes the other way, and all of a sudden you're out of money. And so one of the things you have to talk about rather than balanced budget is fiscal sustainability. In other words, do we have a revenue base that matches our expenditure base that will grow more or less in tandem over time? And to do that, you've got to take a lot of those natural resource revenues out, set them aside, a little bit like is done in Norway, and you can feed your budget off of the earnings of a fund that is actually based on natural resource revenues, because then you can get a more consistent, constant flow of revenues to match with your expenditures. And that, to me, is a fundamental problem that resource-rich provinces have really failed to step up to, and it would solve an awful lot of problems. Because, as you know, once you get expenditures up because you had a revenue windfall last year, but the windfall goes away next year, you can't get the expenditures down. They go one way, they go up. They don't
once they
come
get
down.
the surface, they're
right.
not going to give up.
And a lot of the resource revenues will go both ways. They go up and they go down.
So that reminds me of the Prosperity Fund that the provincial government in British Columbia has been setting up. Is that the same kind of concept?
I think that's the right concept. It's done way too late. I mean, governments in BC, going way back to the Bill Bennett era of the 1970s and 80s, have been talking about different forms of funds for fiscal stabilization. Sometimes it's a natural resources fund, sometimes they call it a fiscal stabilization fund. But the concept is, in an economy where government revenues are volatile because they come from a source, natural resources, which is inherently volatile. You need to create these mechanisms, and the Prosperity Fund is one way to do it. Put the non-renewable gas revenues into a fund and just peel off the earnings of the fund or some portion of the earnings as a constant injection into the revenue stream of the province, and then adjust your expenditure stream to match what you actually can rely on sustainably on the revenue side.
So the terms are they, rather than a balanced budget, should be a sustainable budget.
Yeah, I hate that word, but yes.
You hate the word sustainable?
Well,
Why?
because everybody uses it for everything. but in essence, it conveys the meaning I mean to convey.
A long-term prosperity. But thank you very much, David, for coming here. And I think as you said, we don't ask for immediate solutions, but try to find new path, and more importantly, look at the pink elephant that is always in the room that obstruct us from looking to the bright side. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
今日長談，我哋深入時事話題，今日到此為止。我係黎拔佳 BC Lee，下次見。